Open your textbook to lesson 93 and find part 1. You're going to work these problems and write the statements below to show if you end up with more or less than what you start with. Read problem A. Problem A should read 3/2 times 5/9. So copy the problem and multiply. Below, write the statement that compares 3/2 to the fraction you end up with. Now remember, if you multiply by a fraction that is less than 1, like this one, you're going to end up with an answer that is less than the number you started with. So 3/2 is going to remain greater. So what's 3 times 15? Sorry, 3 times 5, 15. And 2 times 9, 18. So 15 over 18 is smaller, less than 3/2. 3/2 is the greater number. Problem B, 3/8 times 1/2. 1/2, the number you're multiplying by, is again less than 1, meaning 3/8 is going to be larger than the answer. So what is 3 times 1? 3, 8 times 2 is 16. So you know 3/8 is bigger than 3/16. Problem C is a trick question because you're multiplying by 1 whole. And if you remember, what does it mean if you multiply a fraction? So if you're multiplying 2/9 by 3/3, that's a whole number. What does that mean? It's not greater than or less than the answer. It's going to equal the answer. So whatever you're multiplying by, anytime you're multiplying by a whole number like 3/3 or 1/1, 2/2, your answer is going to be the same. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 9 times 3 is 27, meaning 2/9 equals 6/27. Do problem D on your own. Your answer should be 9/5 is less than 54/20. Now, let's move we are going to move over to the slides. We're going to switch gears now. We're going to learn about volume. So here you have the quantity of 2 times 3 multiplied by 4. So read the problem. 2 times 3 times 4. What does 2 times 3 equal? 2 times 3 equals 6. And what does 6 times 4 equal? 6 times 4 equals 24. Will we get the same answer if we put the numbers in a different order? Yes, if we put these numbers in a different order, we will get a different answer. So right now we know 2 times 3 times 4 equals 24. The parentheses here means we work 2 times 3 first. Now, here are the same numbers scrambled. Read this problem. 4 times 2 times 3. What does 4 times 2 equal? 20. 4 times 2 equals 8. And 8 times 3. What does 8 times 3 equal? 24. So, what I said earlier, I misspoke. If you scramble the orders, you're still going to get the same answer. So here we have 2 times 3 goes first, which is 6, times 4 equals 24. Here we have 4 times 2, which equals 8, times that by 3, also equals 24. Let's scramble the numbers again. Read this equation in blue. 4 times 3 times 2. What does 4 times 3 equal? 4 times 3 equals 12. And what does 12 times 2 equal? 12 times 2 equals 24. Each of these different equations with the same numbers have the same answer. 2 times 3 times 4 equals 24. 4 times 2 times 3 equals 24. 4 times 3 times 2 also equals 24. We can do the same thing when we work with rectangular prisms. Check out this slide. We can show the same multiplication patterns with rectangular prisms by rotating them, which changes the base and the height. What are the numbers for the base now? The numbers for the base right now are 5 and 6, right here. Here is our base. This orange side is our base of our rectangular prism. And what does 5 times 6 equal? 30. So, and what is 30 times 10 equal? 300. So our volume for this rectangle is 300 cubic units. Now, let's rotate the cube, or the rectangular prism. What is our new base? Our new base is 10 times 5. The red is now our base. So what is 10 times 5 equal? 50. And then let's multiply it by the height. What is 50 times 6 equal? 50 times 6 also equals 300. 300 cubic units is our volume for this version of our rectangular prism. Let's rotate it again. What is our new base? Our new base is 6 times 10. The blue side is now our base. And what does 6 times 10 equal? 60. If we multiply 60 by our height of 5, what does 60 times 5 equal? 60 times 5 equals 300. Our volume for this rectangular prism is also 300 cubic units. Here in blue is a new equation for the volume of a rectangular prism. This equation does not work for finding the volume of a cylinder. It says volume equals length times width times height. Not a cylinder, only for rectangular prisms does this equation work. Volume equals length times width, parentheses means that goes first, multiply it by our height. So, which measurements are in the parentheses right here? Our measurement in the parentheses is length and width. They give the area of our base. Our third measurement is our height. Going this way, always, is our height. That's the volume outside the parentheses. Our height, length and width are inside of these blue parentheses. Height is on the outside, meaning you do it last. So the multiplication problem for this base is 6 times 10. And what is our height? Our height is 5. So what is our answer? 300 cubic units is 6 times 10 times 5. 300 cubic units is the volume of this rectangular prism. So please find part 2 in your textbook. Here's a new rectangular prism in 3 different positions. You're going to show the numbers you multiply for the base and height for each position. Look at prism A. Copy the new letter equation for volume and write the numbers multiplied for the base inside the parentheses. Write the number for the height outside the parentheses. Stop when you've done that much. So, for prism A, you should have, our equation goes first, equals length times width multiplied by height. Plugging in for prism A, you should have V equals 10 times 2, multiply that by 8. Go ahead and solve that now. Pause the video. What you should have is V equals 20 times 8. So V equals 80. Nope. 160 cubic inches. Don't forget to label your answer like I did here. There is your answer. Next up, problem B. Prism B. Pause the video now to work it. Here's how you set it up. Solve now. Pause the video. Here's what you should have. Next up, problem C. Prism C. Pause the video. Here's what you should have. Now, let's switch gears to unit conversion. Read this fact. This fact says 1 week is 7 days. This fact says 1 week is 7 days. Are there more weeks or days? There are more days. How many times more are there? 7 times more. So to end up with days, you multiply by 7. To end up with weeks, divide by 7. So if you're going to work the problem backwards to figure out weeks, you divide. If you're moving forward to get more, you multiply. So let's try this again. Are there more weeks or days? There are more days. How many times more? There are 7 times more days than there are weeks. So to end up with days, you need to multiply by 7. And to end up with weeks, you need to divide by 7. Next, say this fact. This fact should be read as 1 year is 12 months. 1 year is 12 months. Are there more years or months? There are more months. How many times more months are there than years? 12 times more months. So to end up with months, you need to multiply by 12. And to end up with years, what do you need to do? To end up with years, you need to divide by 12. Next. 1 year is 4 seasons. Say the fact yourself. 1 year is 4 seasons. Are there more years or are there more seasons? There are more seasons. How many times more seasons are there than years? 4 times more. So to end up with seasons, you need to multiply by 4. And to end up with years, what do you need to do? To end up with years, you need to divide by 4. Next. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Say the fact yourself. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Are there more hours or are there more minutes? There are more minutes. How many times more minutes are there than hours? There are 60 times more minutes. So to end up with hours, what do you need to do? To end up with hours, you need to divide by 60. And to end up with minutes, what do you need to do? To end up with minutes, you need to multiply by 60. Now, let's practice. 1 year is 4 seasons. Change 9 seasons into years. I'll read it again. 1 year is 4 seasons. Change 9 seasons into years. Here's a fact and a problem. Our fact is the first thing there. 1 year is 4 seasons, right here. Are there more seasons or are there more years? There are more seasons. So our problem here says change 9 seasons into years. So what are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with years. To end up with years, do you multiply by 4 or divide by 4? To get years, you're working backwards, so you're going to divide 9 by 4. You're going to divide by 4, so 9 divided by 4. So, say the problem you'll work. The problem you would work is 9 divided by 4. Now let's change this. One year is 4 seasons. Our fact is 1 year is 4 seasons. It's asking us to change 12 seasons into years. Read the fact. 1 year is 4 seasons. Are there more seasons or are there more years? There are more seasons in our fact. 4 is more than 1. Read the problem. Change 12 seasons into years. So, what are we solving for? We're solving for years. We're changing it into years. So, to end up with years, do you multiply by 4 or divide by 4? You're going to divide by 4 to get years. So, what is the problem you'll work? The problem you're going to work is 12 divided by 4. Let's try something different. We just swapped these two. Read our fact again. Our fact is 1 year is 4 seasons. Now read our new problem. Change 12 years into seasons. Our new problem is change 12 years into seasons. To end up with seasons, are you going to multiply by 4 or divide by 4? To end up with seasons, you're going to multiply by 4. Work the problem and write the answer in part B. Remember the unit name. Pause the video now to work the problem. The problem you should have worked is 12 times 4. How many seasons is 12 years then? Well, 12 times 4 equals 48, meaning we would have 48 seasons. Now, we're going to swap it back. Here, read our fact again. 1 year is 4 seasons. Our new problem is change 12 seasons into years. To end up with years, do you divide or multiply? You're going to divide. And you're going to divide by what number? You're going to divide by 4, because you're going backwards. So, what is the problem you would work to solve this? The problem to solve this is 12 divided by 4. And what is 12 divided by 4? 12 divided by 4 is 3, meaning we would have 3 years. Next, read the fact. The fact says 1 week is 7 days. 1 week is 7 days. Are there more days or weeks? There are more days. How many more days? 7. So what do you do to end up with days? You multiply by 7. And what do you do to end up with weeks? Divide by 7. Multiply going forward, divide going back. So here's a problem. Change 28 days into weeks. So we're going from days into weeks. We're going this way, meaning we will divide. And we're going to divide by how much? Divide 28 by 7. Because there's 7 days in 1 week. Now we have 28 days. So our problem is 28 divided by 7. And what does 28 divided by 7 equal? 4. 4 weeks. 28 divided by 7 equals 4. Label your answer, weeks. Now, let's switch it up. Let's change 28 weeks into days. Now we're going from weeks to days, weeks to days. We're moving forward, meaning we're going to multiply or divide. Meaning we're going to multiply. And what are we going to multiply 28 by? We're going to multiply 28 by 7 because there's 7 days in 1 week. Now we have 28 weeks. Go ahead and work the problem and label your answer. Pause the video now. Here is what you should have. Go ahead and, once you're done, find part 3 in your textbook and continue on to video number 3.